What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Steelers-Colts Recap. Unfortunately, the Steelers drop three in a row. Really disappointing game yesterday. They got out to a hot start, go up 13-0, and then Indy scored 30 unanswered points. So kind of a wild one to even think about, to be honest with you. It's still kind of surprising the way that things unfolded. Not that they lost, but just the manner in which they did lose. So really disappointing one, but a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, a lot of negative stuff to talk about, so I'll try to keep it as brief or as positive as I can. But I thought yesterday, really unfortunate just result, but I thought there was a big difference in terms of just like the quarterback play, the offensive play on both sides of the ball. Talk about Mitch. I thought that Mitch first half was okay. I thought some of the issues that they had on offense early in the game really extended beyond him. I thought there was some quick throws to get him in rhythm. They did move the ball a little bit through the air, despite not being able to move the ball at all on the ground really throughout the day. But the first interception to Pickens, it's first down. Does he need to take the shot there? It's a design shot play. They move the launch point to get Pickens kind of on this corner post. One on one on the safety. The safety just makes an incredible play. And like sometimes you just gotta tip your cap, say those guys get paid too, but that's a play that you kind of expect George to make more often than not, or at least it not to end up in an interception. But the second interception is the one that's just infuriating to me, and I totally get they're down 2 touchdowns at that point, but still have a chance. It's just the consistent fading away in the pocket is just it's maddening. And not only is it maddening because it's just so not fundamentally sound. It just leads to such poor play, like him turning the football over and over and over. He's throwing off his back foot for no reason, even though there's clear as day room to step up in the pocket and drill. They're running what's called like a spot dig or wrap in, depending on what you classify it as. They get the underneath receiver to kind of run a little 5-yard hitch to pull the linebackers down. Then you run the dig right behind him. Pickens is wide open. He sails it 5 feet at least over his head. Easy interception for the safety sitting back there. So just it's just mind-boggling to me that a veteran has just that poor of like mechanics in his lower body still at this stage of his career. And look, I think even if you're grading him on a curve for being a backup, the Steelers are paying him like $10 million, one of the highest paid backups in the league, and he's just not gotten it done. Like over the past 2 seasons, there's been just too many games where I felt like he did not give them enough to where I felt like they should win, and that's it's definitely an indictment on him and an indictment on the offense. But that signing has been catastrophic. I don't know what the Steelers do next week. I don't think Kenny's going to be ready. They probably have to turn to Rudolph. I don't. Will that offer tangible results? Probably not. But some of the Steelers' best performances in the past couple of years have come against the Bengals defense. So perhaps that gives them a boost, and Rudolph does just enough um, to get it done. I'm not really sure, but I don't know how you can go back to Trubisky just based on what's transpired over the past 2 seasons. Just don't, my opinion. On the other side, I thought Steichen did a really good job play calling. We saw a lot of the stuff that we were expecting to see, a lot of RPOs, the spread and shred, the gun run stuff. And they were successful with basically all of it. I said this after the game was over, but even though the Steelers got off to a 13-0 start and, they ended up getting blown out on the scoreboard by 17 points. It really should have been worse. If you really think about it, the Colts averaged well over 60 or 6 yards per play. You just look at some of the numbers, 44% success rate on offense, but they were 47% success rate on the ground. They pretty much moved the ball at will. And obviously the necessary context there is the Steelers got some backups playing along the spine of the defense, the middle of the defense. Totally get that. But it's December in the NFL, man. He's banged up. That just is what it is. You look at the Colts just yesterday. They're down there QB1, Anthony Richardson, down Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, who's on pace for 1,000 yards. They had guys getting carries and catches that hadn't done anything all season long, and they were still able to move the ball at will. Michael Pittman goes down, second in the NFL in targets, I believe, coming into the week. So there's just a lot there that was disappointing. I thought that, overall, though, I thought there was a big difference in play. Even though Minshew wasn't perfect, I thought he was significantly better than Trubisky, and that's it's concerning when it's that obvious between backup quarterbacks. So just to talk about the offense in general, Really, the offense just never really got going. You just look at all the numbers: 33% success rate overall, 25 rushing the ball, 38 passing the ball. Just not good enough numbers. I mean, the Steelers ran the ball 24 times yesterday. 6 of those were deemed successful. Harris has the huge fumble coming out the half. I thought that was significant because um, the Colts got the ball first, I believe, coming out of the break. They actually get it. The Steelers get a stop, and then Harris ends up fumbling the ball. Minshew throws a touchdown pass immediately the very next play. The Steelers just they can't afford turnovers like that. When you look at how they got to 6-3, 7-4, whatever they were, it was really because the defense was turning the ball over at a incredible rate, and the offense was taking care of the football. And it's an ugly way to win. And you can say that it's sustainable, not sustainable, whatever. But the Steelers can't win when they turn the ball over 3 times. Just can't do it. They don't have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball. They don't put up enough points to mask that. So, run game just never really got going. I thought that the Colts really dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. If you go back and watch the recap, or if you did watch the recap or the preview, excuse me, um, you heard me say on Twitter all week, I thought this Colts front was a little underrated just in terms of they have some talent there. Getting Grover Stewart back from injury was big. Thought that he dominated the matchup with Mason Cole yesterday. They just really did a good job clogging things up in the middle. All the Steelers runs to the interior really were pretty much dead on rights. They did have some success. I wanted them to run the ball on the perimeter a little bit more. They got to it, but even the really good run that Warren had, I think, to the perimeter on the left side, Cole picks up a ticky tack hold down the field and pretty much negates the play. So just nothing going right. But I thought, in general, I didn't think Harris in particular made the most of the room that he had. And obviously the fumble was just catastrophic. Offensive line struggle across the board. Already talked about Mason Cole. Really not anything surprising there. He's had a rough season, but the tackles didn't play particularly well. Dan Moore Jr. had a really tough matchup with Samson Ebicam, guy that I've really thought has been an underrated player for quite some time. He took it to him. I mean, he came in the week on a tear, and I think this is now double-digit sacks for him. I think in like 3 of the past 4, 3 of the past 5 weeks, or something like that. Really, from the jump, he had his number. I mean, he beat him in several different ways, multiple sacks, quarterback hits, all that stuff. Broderick gave up a sack. It looked like to me on the sack for Broderick, I think he was anticipating a stunt, and that's why he was setting so far back. Had to go back and watch that one though, but just overall, not impressed whatsoever with the offensive line play. The receivers, Deontay Johnson did some good things, just in terms of he scored I think he's got more touchdowns the past couple of weeks than he had in the past 2 years or something like that. Before that, um, even the targets that went his way that weren't completed, I thought that he created separation on. So interested to see, go back and watch the film on that. Pickens got involved early, couple catches. Like I said, he got mossed on the 50-50 play. Just a really good play by the DB, to be honest with you. And definitely a play that, I feel like he makes more often than not. But just really non-existent for the most part after that. Freiermuth, the one play that really sticks out in my mind is, I think it was like a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 type situation. It's zone coverage, and Mitch is expecting him to sit down, and Eddie running to the middle of the field. And the ball's behind him, and I think they cut to Mitch afterwards, and it looked like he was saying like, "Hey, sit down. Like, I need you to sit down right there." And just, it's just ugly football, man, to be honest with you, on that side of the ball. The defense wasn't much better, but I thought early in the game, I thought that Watt and Ogunjobi had some disruptive moments. Watt going up against a backup right tackle, they left him alone. Steichen loves empty. They did a lot of that when he was with the Eagles, and they tried to do it against the Steelers early. But that means you're leaving your right tackle one-on-one with Watt. And he made him pay. Had a really nice sack early. I think he was credited with another one on an RPO. But Ogunjobi, who's been really quiet this season, I thought flashed a little bit, had a sack. I know he had at least one more run stop as well. Need more of that from him. Highsmith was pretty quiet as a pass rusher. Interesting to go back and look at the tape on that and see exactly what happened. But really, again, the Colts just dominated the line of scrimmage. I mean, it just felt really obvious. I say this all the time, but I think the worst way to lose is like when you just kind of get punked out from a physicality standpoint. And I thought the Steelers kind of got punked out, especially as the game wore on. You just look at that late third, early fourth quarter drive where they went like 15 plays, 70 yard, ended up settling for a field goal, but they took like 6-7 minutes off the clock. I think they ran like 13 consecutive run plays or something like that. That is one of those like just where the coordinator is basically sticking his middle finger up and say like, we think we're tougher than you. That's what that tells me. And to their credit, I think they were yesterday. So, um, and I definitely want to touch on the decision to punt. Right, that happened directly before that. It's a 56-yard field goal, and there's probably a 50% chance that Boz makes it. I don't know, something like that. And I totally get that it's not a gimme, but you have to kick the field goal there, man. I mean, you're down 11. It can potentially cut the game to a one-score game. Who knows what happens from there? But it definitely changes that dynamic, the feel in the stadium. I think that the rationale that he gave in the post-game presser was that he was worried about field position. I get that if he does miss it, like, it does hurt your field position, but you're running out of time. Like, you only have so many possessions. You have to at least try. And by it would be different if, like, if it's a 63-yarder and Boz has never made that before, and there's just no the risk or the reward doesn't outweigh the risk there. But it's 56. I mean, Boz has kicked 58 yarders outside this year. So it's not like he doesn't have the leg for it. He just can't. He's incapable of making that kick. He can, and they just let him try. Just a really bizarre decision to me. Don't really understand the explanation. Some of these in-game management decisions that he's made over the course of the season, I feel like have gotten magnified more on social media this year. They've probably always been there. They've definitely been there to some degree that I've noticed, but they're magnified more right now to the masses of the fan base because the margins are really thin right now for the Steelers team. They can only win in very specific ways. So like they have to have the defense play really well. They're now that the defense and they didn't play very well yesterday, obviously, but they're now 1-10 over the past two seasons, I believe, when they allow more than 20 points. So that there's just only certain specific ways in which this team is capable of winning games. When the margins are that thin and the coach plays that conservative and potentially takes points off the board, it's tough. It's just really tough for me to digest. So but it is what it is. Linebackers obviously had a really tough time yesterday in coverage again. Walker got picked on a little bit early. A couple completions in the red zone, and then Mark Robinson gives up the touchdown immediately after the fumble on the corner route. He's got inside leverage. They're playing man to man. Just my personal take. Obviously, with the injuries and things of that nature, they're down bad right now in terms of depth on the spine of the defense. They've got to stop playing so much man in the red zone, though. Opposing quarterbacks have it's very clear that the offensive coordinators know what they are getting and that the Steelers are going to play man in the red zone because just some of the route concepts that you're seeing, all the pick plays and like isolating guys, like they know what they're getting. And when the pass rush doesn't win and the quarterback can sit back there for 2.5 seconds and there's no immediate pressure, and you're putting your linebackers who can't cover against whoever it is on the other side of the ball, they're going to exploit that matchup. Like playing man in the red zone, though, that's a matchup game, and they don't have the dudes to win that. And I totally get that. Like some people may say like they don't like watching like the spot drop zone coverage, and there's some communication elements to that could potentially cause problems. I will live with that and hopefully make the quarterback hold on to the ball for an extra beat rather than playing obvious man coverage and just allowing quarterback to say, okay, I know 38's in man coverage. I'm going to whoever he's guarding. That's basically what it is right now in the red zone. And the Colts were 3 for 6 in the red zone, and that percentage itself is fine on defense, but it really should have been 5 or 6. I mean, we saw the drop touchdowns. They dropped 2 easy touchdowns. One was really easy on fourth down. So I almost think that that's why I said that the score honestly doesn't really perfectly encapsulate just how poorly this thing went. I mean, the Colts averaged over 6 yards per play. I mean, it was a beatdown in pretty much every facet. And from a secondary perspective, obviously Fitzpatrick gets hurt, his third injury of the season. It's just really been rough on him to try to stay on the field. I mean, he's playing with a cast on his hand, just total bummer there. Do want to kind of talk about the KZ thing. I just look, I completely get first and foremost, I hope that Michael Pittman's good. Obviously, great player, seems like a great dude. Never like to see hits like that, injuries like that. And I totally get that that's the type of stuff you're trying to take out of the game. With that being said, we've got to stop punishing defensive backs for quarterbacks putting their like throwing hospital balls and putting the receivers in danger. Like if that throw is accurate, KZ doesn't get kicked out of the game because it's not. I really will push strongly back on the fact that it's a dirty hit. It's not a dirty hit. Like he is going to the ground, so KZ goes low and he just meets his helmet because the throw is 5 yards over his head and he ends up having to dive for the catch. If the quarterback puts that ball where it's supposed to be because he's wide open, puts that ball where it's supposed to be, KZ goes low. It's just a regular normal tackle. Same thing kind of happened last week in the Vikings game that I was watching. Josh Dobbs throws a deep dig, and it's high over the middle of the field. Safety clocks Justin Jefferson, knocks him out the game. Part of the quarterback's responsibility is to protect the receivers. That just is what it is. In today's game, where like you are really restricted in the ways that you can hit guys, you still have to protect your receivers. And I feel like we've lost sight of that. Like people are saying that that's a dirty hit, whatever. Like, what is KZ supposed to do? Is he supposed to just let him catch the ball? Is he supposed to do like full like matrix, just stop in midair and contort his body to miss him? Like he's diving. Like both guys are diving at the like towards the ground. Like what's he supposed to do? So I don't know. I didn't like I mean, if you want to throw a flag because of the optics and it looks bad and a guy got hurt, okay. I think an ejection there is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's total garbage. Um, but that wasn't why they lost. I don't want to make an excuse on that. I just think we've got to start putting back into focus that quarterbacks throwing bad balls, getting their guys hurt, instead of just making up stupid narratives about guys being dirty players, dirty hits, whatever. It's just not. I just strongly push back on that. Secondary didn't play particularly well either. I mentioned playing man in the red zone. One of the touchdowns was on a mesh concept where Joey Porter Jr. just doesn't carry the crosser. It looks like he's trying to pass it off. No clue why. He picked up a pass interference that got the Colts in scoring position right before that. Just, I mean, I didn't feel like he was mentioned very much on the broadcast, but just that particular drive, that he really hurt him on that one. I know Patrick Peterson got some reps at safety. That's one of the things I want to look at just in this week's film room, just to see how those looked because they may need him there just going forward. But I'm trying, like I said, guys, it's really ugly ball right now. So I'm trying to stay positive, trying to give you guys, just my honest opinions, even when it's good, when it's bad. But I will say that like my interest a little bit in this team right now is a little bit lower, definitely lower than normal for this time of the year, just because they're just playing such uninspired football, and I just don't see a path to kind of fixing things this year. The defense, like I said, when the defense doesn't play well, they just don't win games. That just is what it is. And obviously, we can talk about the offense having the struggles that they've had over the past several seasons. But now that the defense is kind of, got some injury stuff going on and just not playing up to the caliber that they were playing maybe in the first half of the season, it's hard for me to really say that they have a good chance at making the postseason. I think right now the predictor gives them like a 7 or 8% chance to make it. Obviously pending today's results, but if they win out, they're gonna make it. Like if you get to 10 wins, you'll make the playoffs. Like almost, I mean, it's like a 90-something% chance, I think. But the problem is like it's hard to even utter those words and really believe in them that they could do that because they're just not playing good ball. And I think Tomlin did one of the things he did say in the presser yesterday that made a lot of sense is he just said that they're a fundamentally like bad football team right now. You can see that it's on the tape. But I will say that I will probably, you guys may notice whether on Twitter, on here, I may shift some of my content towards start shifting towards the draft. I know some of you guys are probably here from the draft videos when the channel first kind of originated. But you may see some draft stuff up earlier than normal, just in terms of on here on the site. That is, that's kind of just really, really where I'm ready to transition. I'm obviously still going to watch the tape, give you guys as much content as possible, but it's hard to get really too excited about much more than that. So Bengals coming to next week, got a big win against the Vikings yesterday, comeback win. So that'll be interesting to see, but the game is at home. Excited to watch the Bengals tape, see how that comeback happened because I didn't get to see the end of the game. So, but as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Look, I would love to have better, more positive videos with you guys. Hopefully they get back on the winning track. And I can get you that type of content. But just comment, subscribe, like, all that stuff on the way out. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday, man. Even if it's not rooting, even if it's beyond just rooting for the results of the games that favor the Steelers, enjoy some good football, enjoy some better football than what we saw yesterday, and have a good rest of your weekend.